Some massive all-time highs rolling in not only for the S&P 500, but for some of the larger constituents in the index as well. We're going to look at that. We'll take a look around the markets to see what's going on. Then I've got 10 interesting charts to show you things not only all the way from consumer sentiment, interest rates, employment, just kind of a slew of charts to kind of rip through real quick to give you a better picture of the broader environment right now. But of course, obviously, it's a strong environment. The data indicates that, and the market indicates that with new all-time highs as well. Before I begin, I must remind you this is a financial education presentation. You must do your own due diligence before acting on anything you hear in this presentation. More disclaimer information can be found on Ankerstar.com. The opinions expressed are mine alone. You do have the S&P 500 at all-time highs, up a little over 1% today, and that is it's a little bit narrow today, in that it's kind of semiconductor focused, but it is in general, it is a broad participation rally that we're seeing. Breadth has been good this year, and we'll actually see sector performance year to date as well. You have oil just totally collapsing on the good news coming from the Middle East about a deal coming this week. So, time will tell, right? That's always been a weird headline related story. And I will say, if you're thinking about like a true conflict between two nations, maybe like what's going on between Ukraine and I think a lot of in a situation like that, you're neither side cares what happens to a commodity price. That doesn't change their tactical approach. It seems like the United States and Iran are hyper fixated on oil, which kind of is sort of an indication to me that there are other things more important than a commodity price, and thus meaning that it may not be that real of a conflict at all, versus you see like a true conflict between two countries is going to be, we don't care about anything but the victory of it. All right, so all these comments so hyper focused on oil just tells me that the conflict is not intended to be long lasting. Let's see, bonds, we'll look at that in a minute, and then we do have gold, metals moving quite a bit higher today. There could be related to some of the currency fluctuations if the dollar is weakening. Yeah, the dollar is softer today, softer than it's been in recent weeks, and kind of still coming down from that near-term peak. So you see that reflected in gold prices. Crypto more or less flat though. All right, and jumping down, just what's moving. Palantir, amazing earnings, something like triple-digit revenue growth in their commercial side of their business, meaning away from their government-focused side of their business. So as it relates to that, I mean, it's truly staggering revenue growth. It is weird with Palantir, where you're talking about a company probably worth $350 billion right now, and they're still probably, you see the revenue growth, but then they're still probably only doing $5 billion a year in revenue. I do think they have potential, and actually Alex Karp has come on the record and say they have a road to like $20 billion a year in free cash flow, which if that is true, obviously they're going to have to more than quadruple their revenue and maintain high margins. But if it is true, you could be looking at a company pushing, depending on what the growth is at that time, you could be looking and talking about $1 trillion company. So we'll see what happens with that. It's a richly priced company, but it's just really, they're executing at an incredibly high level. SpaceX earnings after the bell. We'll focus on that tomorrow. Remember, with SpaceX, you're getting shares unlocked. So when an investor thinks about SpaceX, they're thinking about satellites and rockets going up to space. When a SpaceX, they're probably thinking about when they get to sell their SpaceX shares to the retail public and to the broader, the public in general, public market. Some of those shares, maybe about 20%, are going to get unlocked like this week in relation to the first earnings report, and we'll see if they want to dump it. Steve and I were talking about that, and he was like, "Oh, some of those SpaceX insiders, they've already bought the house. They're just waiting for when they can sell their shares." And I would assume Steve is probably correct on that. Okay, a few other earnings stories, but let's jump over to look at some charts. Check out government bond yields here. Um, the UK, you've broken out. This is highest level since early 2000s. US, you haven't broken out at the 10-year, right? You're still below 5%. And remember, we have some leash out until 5%, but we are quickly approaching that. France is already broken out from its near-term peak. It's back trading at where it was in the early 2000s. So the highest it's been in, call it about almost 20 years. Germany, the highest it's been in almost 20 years. Japan, the highest it's been in many decades. So Japanese 10-year government bond yields have really gone on a historic rally, and that's a little bit of a problem for investors globally, even because Japan has been a place for investors to get cheap, to borrow at low rates, and that has kind of started to unwind in an aggressive way over the past few years. Here's yield spread. So this is the difference between corporate yields and government yields, and the higher this ratio goes, the more risk investors see in corporate yields, in companies borrowing money to invest in their business. So at this point, we're at about the lowest levels ever with the amount of risk that people see from corporations borrowing. What does that mean? That means that it's a low risk environment on the credit side of things. These are low yield spreads, means low risk or low assumed risk. They do sometimes say, though, that the worst bonds are purchased. What is it? The worst bonds are purchased at the best time. So when things are going perfect and then things switch, like we saw right before the great financial crisis, the bonds purchased here at a low yield spread were the worst bonds ever purchased, right? So the worst bonds are purchased during the best times. Again, we don't have any data indicating that we'll enter any bad times. I did see yields going up, global interest rates. What are commodities doing? We are seeing in 2026, we've seen sharp increases in commodity prices. We're not going to go commodity by commodity. This is an all commodity price index. But aside from 2021, where you had massive government stimulus, like something we've never seen before, aside from that, this is a very sharp increase in commodity prices. Now, some of this is oil, but some of this is elsewhere. Soft commodities like butter, cocoa beans. There's a ton of them in here. These things are not cheap, and they're not getting cheaper. So a commodity price index could signal some future inflation. Obviously, with the government printing the way they are, you kind of expect that. I don't think anyone would be surprised by that. And if we look at which sectors in the S&P 500 are doing the best, it's an energy year. So folks who are investing heavily in energy, headed into 2026 have done the best. Industrials are right there at 18% for the year. Information technology, 17%. That's going to that's going to include your semiconductors that we talk about every day almost. If we look on what's kind of lagging, consumer discretionary, that's going to be your Amazon, your Tesla, and everything else, Home Depot, etc., Starbucks, McDonald's, on and on, different stores and things. That's been the laggard of the year. Utilities a laggard, which you kind of expect during bull markets. And then financials have been strong, and they're sitting at all-time highs, but not so much in 2026. That was a 2024, 2025 kind of rally, but still holding in there for sure. All right, jumping over to consumer sentiment. Consumer sentiment, we're at all-time we're actually at all-time lows, which is kind of weird because I guess, you do have commodity, you do have the cumulative effects of recent inflation. Um, but you have a decent kind of outlook here. If you go look at unemployment is hovering at all-time lows. So consumers aren't battling unemployment. If you look at household debt service ratio, consumers aren't heavily indebted right now. You're actually looking at, as a percent of disposable personal income, you're looking at household monthly debt service only being 11% of that disposable personal income. And we've seen before the great financial crisis up at 15%. So unemployment is really low. Household debt service is really low. The S&P 500 is at all-time highs. Commodity stuff has been tough, and the oil spike didn't help, but oil's come down quite a bit. But also we've seen even more aggressive commodities price surges even just a few years ago in 2021. So we're not even really in that kind of environment. The U.S. 10-year hasn't even broken out yet. Mortgage rates are elevated kind of based on recent standards, but they're not at like historic highs. So it is a little bit perplexing how consumer confidence can be where it is. Now, maybe this explains some of it. If you look at the personal savings rate, you are at all-time lows there. So you're not really taking on additional debt to sustain your lifestyle, but you are having to pretty much spend every penny you have to sustain your lifestyle, and that shows up in the data in that personal savings rate. So I guess that could be a a reason for consumer confidence to be low. And then I guess you do overlay that with, we never got back to the Fed's 2% inflation target after the 2021 into 2022 inflation surge. We're still up above 3%, 3.5% as of June 2026 on the headline number, which market participants are having to battle that. And sorry, I just got an email through, disrupted my train of thought there. But if you look back to really this century, the 2000s, we're about as high as we've been for the past few decades. And you're seeing a new spike on top of that related to the oil stuff, and some of that can linger. We've talked about countries having to refill their reserves. So I guess maybe it's the cumulative effects of inflation have really worn on consumers, and that's where you're seeing consumer confidence so low, despite the fact that overall debt and employment is kind of all in a healthy, good spot right now. So interesting charts there. Stock market at all-time highs. Enjoy it while we can, right? You've got the bull markets and the bear markets, everything in between. Enjoy the good times while we've got them, and look forward to talking to you soon.